Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. I'm pretty sure that's what the date and the day is. I don't know. I've lost track of days years ago at this point, but I think that's what it is. It's got to be because I know that today is the day that I was supposed to be talking with my friend Martinus Evans. He just wrote a book, and I actually read it. I didn't read it actually like physically, but I listened to it on my run. I devoured it like the first day it came out. It took me maybe about like a couple of runs to be able to get through it all, maybe 3 or 4, because it is a little bit of a longer book. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was super excited to get him on here. It took us this long though, because the book's been out about a month, and it took a little while because he's been busy with his book tour. But now we were able to find some time. I think we probably could have done it sooner if I hadn't insisted on bringing him in here live, but I wanted everyone to talk to him because it looks like a lot of you guys already know who he is. But if you don't know, he's the 300 pounds and running slow AF runner. And he has an amazing story. And he's been a beacon of light in the running community, helping me see a lot of new things that I hadn't been seeing before, but also someone really fun to connect with anytime I see him at events. Before we get to him, though, I do want to say hi to everyone listening on the podcast on the audio only version. It's been raining here in Crystal Lake, and there's really strong thunderstorms. Hopefully, that's not the case where you are, and you can get out there in some nice and mild summer temperatures. And for everyone listening to this and watching this on YouTube later, but not live, welcome to you guys as well. You are listening to, I don't know if we're the #1 place for running book author live stream podcasts, but I don't know. I feel like we got to be pretty close to it. So welcome to you guys as well. And with that, let's bring him back on. Let's say hi to Martinus Evans. Martinus, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
It's so good to see you again. How are you?
Likewise, man. Things are amazing. I cannot complain.
All right. So the book came out a month ago. And I know that you were on a book tour kind of before it came out and then when it came out. How's the book tour going?
Oh, man. I'm halfway through a 40-date book tour.
Oh, my goodness. Halfway through. So you still got, I saw on, I think it was on the Slow AF Run Club website, you have like a bunch of, I feel like you're about to leave again,
Yes.
right? Where are you going next?
So I leave tomorrow, and I'm going to Denver, Colorado Springs, and Boulder. So I'll be at various fleet feats there. And then the following weekend, I'll be at SF Marathon. And then the following weekend after that, I'll be at Marathon Sports in Boston. And then it kind of gets a little hazy for me as far as like what my schedule looks like from that point on. I know I have dates, but it starts to be a blur because I got a couple weddings somewhere in between there, and it just gets crazy.
Okay. Well, I have lots of questions about that kind of stuff because as I'm going through and I was listening to your book, I didn't really know what to expect from it. You sent me a chapter ahead of time, but I was like, I know I'm going to want to devour the whole thing all at once. So I was like, let me hold on. I don't need the chapter as a preview to help me decide if I want to read this book. I knew. So as I'm going through, though, I'm realizing that, I thought this was going to be more of a Martinus Evans story. And it is. It's in there. Right. But what I was really looking for, and maybe you're saving this on purpose for book 2, I was looking for the becoming Martinus Evans kind of story. And we did see that a little bit sprinkled throughout. But it's also kind of like a helpful book for people that are maybe thinking that, oh, this guy looks like me. How can I be like that guy? Right. So is that how you would explain the book?
Yes, I will explain this book as part memoir, part instructional manual for anybody who feel like they are been left out of running or don't know where to begin.
All right. Well, I think it is excellently well written, and I could see it as someone that, for the most part, there's a couple times where I felt like I could relate to some of the experiences you had. But for someone that kind of had grown up running, there was a lot of things that were a little bit more eye-opening for me. Stuff that I've kind of maybe have brushed aside as I participated in run clubs, participated in races and other events, kind of like that. And it really helped me kind of have some compassion to see that everyone out here just wants to be able to run and have that event or have that group run or have that social experience with their running. But the way running is now, we're not always, accommodating all those people.
Right.
I think by now everyone that's here, and let's grab some people from the chat. Eliza says, "Hi, co-fam. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this so much. Martinez is awesome." Cobalt Blue says, "Hey, Co. Hey, Martinez." And Leona
What's up,
says, "Looking
Cobalt?
forward." Leona says, "Looking forward to this chat. Love what you're doing, Martinez." So you got some fans here in the chat already for sure. So people already kind of like, I think, will know who you are. But for those of you who are tuning in, for those people who are tuning in and maybe don't really know this story as well, I mean, your story started out as kind of like a health wake up story, but not in the kind of like the doctor was like, "Hey, you got to fix this," and so I listened to my doctor. Yours is slightly different than that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it still involves a doctor, right?
It involves a doctor, but
Tell us
not
about
the
that.
way that you would think. So, 2012, I was working at Men's Warehouse at the time. So,
Mhm.
I was working a commission sales job on my feet 8 to 10 hours a day selling suits. I was a suit salesman. And I developed some hip pain. So, I went to go see this doctor, and this was first time me ever meeting this doctor. And he was like, "I know why you in pain." Okay, why? You ain't touched me. You ain't did an x-ray. Like what's going on? And he was like, "You're fat. You either need to lose weight or die." And he continued on this conversation of like, "You got this stomach as a pregnant woman. You need to start walking, all of this other stuff." And as a person of size, right, like this is not the first time that I experienced like going to a doctor for like a issue, but it's not necessarily a medical issue, far as like, oh, your heart, blood pressure, things of that sort. Like it's my hip. And the doctor's like, "Oh, we're gonna get to that, but first, like, let me tell you how fat you are and how you need to lose weight." So, I was frustrated. I was angry. I wanted to massage my fist against his face. Um, um,
Not that
however,
anyone here would do anything like that.
exactly. Not that I wanted to, like, not that I did do anything like that, but I wanted to,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, so I remember saying, like, "Screw all of this and screw you. I'm gonna run a marathon." And he laughed at me and told me that was the most dumbest thing he has heard in all his years of practicing medicine. And then he also went on to say, like, "If you even tried to run a marathon, you will die on the course." So now you telling me I either need to lose weight or die. And then when I give you an option, you tell me I'm gonna die as well. So I just chose another option. I stormed out the doctor's office, and as I was going home, I ran into a Fleet Feet, or was just a Fleet Feet on the way, and I went in there and I said, "I need running shoes, and I need them now." I got the running shoes, and got on the treadmill and failed miserably. Couldn't run longer than 15 seconds, and like literally fell off the treadmill. And that was my first day of running, and that's how I got started running.
I mean, most people after that first day, if that's your intro to running, and then you were like, "I'm gonna show him," and then you like literally planted on the treadmill. Most people would be like, maybe he was right. I mean, was there a part of you that was like that, or were you just like, "This is just a speed bump on the story. I'm gonna keep going." How
Uh,
did you? Because I don't. I feel like you talked about it in the book a lot, but I'm like that. You talked about like how you felt, like you were embarrassed and all that stuff, but where did I mean, there's gotta be a lot of doubt coming in on part of this story.
There is a lot of doubt that came through there, but I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you something, Mike. I am damn stubborn. I am stubborn as all get out. And I think that was the thing that kept me going when all of the voices in my head of like, you can't do this, don't try to do this, what was there. I was
Mhm.
like, no, I'm gonna do this because I need to prove this doctor wrong. Nobody's gonna tell me that I can't do something when I know I can.
Yeah, and so then I feel like after that, um, you then have to, like, go to day 2 of running,
Mhm.
right? And, like, how did you decide, like, "All right, well, the treadmill, at least day 1 wasn't gonna work. Do I try it again?" Like, tell me about day 2.
So day two, it's almost like riding a bike. I remember the first time I rode a bike. Like, I fell. And I remember my mom and my dad being like, "Okay, like, you fell. It's okay to cry. I know it's scary, but guess what you're doing tomorrow? You getting
Mhm.
back on that bike." And I think that was the same approach that I took far as running. I was like, "All right, I know I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm embarrassed, but I got to get back on this treadmill, not just for like just for my own pride. Like I can't like not let this treadmill take me out." So I got on there day 2 and I ran for like 30 seconds, just
All right.
enough to say like, okay, like I'm not that bad as I think I am.
Okay.
And then later that week, I downloaded Couch to 5K. Or I
Mhm.
downloaded multiple couches to 5Ks.
Okay.
And
Are there a
trust
lot out
me,
there? I thought there was, like, just one. There's many?
man, there are hundreds of Couch to
Okay.
5K apps.
All right.
um, and I downloaded Couch to 5K and I started to work my way throughout Couch to 5K.
And then from then you were off, right? Just
From there, I was off.
yeah.
I graduated Couch to 5K. Um, the thing that really grinds my gears about Couch to 5K and in general is that like week 8, day 3, it's like run 30 minutes. Congratulations, you ran a 5K. And me
Oh.
being like, wait a minute, doing the math,
Yeah.
carrying a one, like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
expect me to run a 10-minute mile?
Yeah.
Like I thought this was a beginner's program.
Mhm.
So I graduated Couch to 5K. Wasn't able to run a 5K like written it in and there, but continued to like build up so that I could run for like 45 minutes to about an hour straight, and then
Okay.
signed up for my first 5K.
Okay. All right, we got some really good questions in the chat here. Well, first, Vanessa Martinez says, "Preach about the doctor. You know, doctors love to tell you you're fat, and every health issue is your fault." And Shannon says, "The doctor sounds like a bully and was trying to lose you as a patient. That sounds awful." So, I mean, I just want to say sorry that that happened to you, and because that's not cool.
Yeah, I think it's something that happens to a lot of people and it goes very silent because they just think, well, it's the doctor and they're on this pedestal when they know a
Mhm.
lot more than me. And I think that one of the things I learned very early on is that people who are in power are just humans, and they just went to a specialized school. So
Okay.
like that
Yeah.
doesn't make them better than anyone else or give them credit to beat you down physically or verbally just because they have letters behind their name.
Yeah. Let's get to another question from Frank. A lot of people are kind of mentioning this question. He wants to know what's the best way to be supportive of his larger family members. He only really knows how the cross country coaches
Mhm.
encourage people, and I feel like, and Frank says, I feel like my encouragement is discouraging. So, like, what are some ways that like things that you would want to hear as you're like now on your running journey, or
Mhm.
especially as you were beginning yours?
So one of the things that you can do by encouraging them is like giving them or letting them know that there are other people out there like them in their body size that are doing it. Whether it's myself, whether it's Latoya Shante Snell, whether it's Myrna Valerio or the fat athlete. There's so many like runners of size who are actually doing this thing and are coaching individuals. So like I would say that's the first thing. The second thing is I take this approach of like thinking a new runner or a plus size individual as a baby. Right. So what I mean by this is that imagine a baby trying to walk. I don't know the number, but let's go with this. A baby falls 100,000 times before they start walking. Like you wouldn't go to a baby when they fail and be like, "Boom, in your face, baby, you're worthless. I told you you couldn't do that. You need to lose weight. Get those little baby rolls off you. Don't do it." Yada yada yada. We'd be like, "No, like continue to do this, even if they cry. Like it's okay. Go ahead and cry it out, but you're gonna continue to walk. We're gonna get you there." And I think that's the approach that we need to take for individuals of size or just any individual who are just trying to get into this game. Like I think for a lot of people, we don't like approach people with grace. We just know, like, oh yeah, like yeah, that's hard. Like you'll get past that part, and then like just go on about your day. But they really need to understand like the background of like why is this hard and like why your body is trying to adjust to the particular thing, right? So it's like, oh, my body hurts, my knees hurt, yada yada yada, and like most people, like, yeah, like that's typical. Like you just started running, but it's like no, like it's typical because like you have muscles, ligaments, and bones, and like all of that stuff takes time to get accustomed to this new physical activity, and eventually you'll start to get used to this, and like this is normal for everybody. So like giving them the explanation onto like why this is happening versus like necessarily blowing them off because they do feel like they're just being blown off of like, oh yeah, like you'll get it, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's good information for everyone here to kind of like carry that through as well. And I think that one of the things that, it's something I've been thinking about a lot over the last year. I've been doing a lot more group runs,
Mm.
is making sure that it's more representative of all people and all paces. And so, like, a lot of people in the group run will say, like, all paces welcome. But then sometimes people are getting dropped, and I'm like, it's weird to have an event when people are getting dropped on a shakeout run, because it's a shakeout run, it means there's a race. And before your race, everyone should get to run easy, and you shouldn't have to worry about like running hard or as hard as you're going to race the next day to keep up with the group. And so, like, I've seen that happen at a couple of events that I've put on and events that other people have put on. And it really opened my eyes to that, having conversations with people with that happened to. And then I read Myrna's book within, I think, the last year, and I'm especially reading your book. Can you talk to us a little bit about like how important that is for new runners and trying to welcome runners into the broader running community?
Absolutely. So people of size, new runners, whatever you want to call it, they feel like they are left alone. Like diet industry, the medical industry has made it feel like we are the problem. Like you're fat, you got a problem. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and do this, right? But it's a lonely journey to go on when you are like when you are not confident about yourself. So you got all these things of like you questioning yourself. You feel like the world is looking at you. And then like as you get the gall to like actually participate in something, you just get left out. So now it's really confirming those thoughts that you have in your head about, oh, I'm not good enough to call myself a runner because like I'm with all these runners and they left me. So one of the things that I try to do, when talking with individuals to say is that, hey, like this group run is not your training run, right? Like this is not for you. This is for the community. And since this is for the community, you need to understand that like there are going to be party members of your community who may not be up to snuff or may not be up to your speed. And you need to figure out like what is your no runner left behind approach. Like, are you running with them? Are you going to the front and then coming back to make sure you get everybody? Like, what are you doing to make sure that everybody in that space is supported? And I think like that's the most important thing about just running is getting people to understand that they are not alone in this journey. Like we are all just trying to get the gall to get off the couch and do something that's scary because for most of adults, like physical activity is scary because they may have experienced like the high school test or the 1 mile test when they was in high school and middle school and people teased them, right? So like we are all have these traumas that we're all trying to experience and trying to overcome that we just need to take note of as we are interacting with people who are just starting to run again.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I've been trying to do is, if I think the group is going to be big enough, is to have people, because I don't have like a regular group. It's
Mhm.
wherever we go. That's the Kofuzi Run Club, and so it's just kind of whoever's in town for that race. And so I'll try to like put out a couple days ahead of time, like, does anyone want to be a pace group leader? And so that way we can have a lot of different pace groups represented. And then I'll usually have someone that wants to run with all the faster folks. And then I usually try to bring up the rear and make sure that anyone else that's out there always has someone to run with, especially if
Mhm.
you don't know the route. I also try to publish the route ahead of time too, with like a Strava route. So that way you could download it to your watch if you wanted to. But
Yeah.
I'm finding that no one ever does download the
Nobody does. Nobody does,
So I
Michael.
don't know if I'm gonna keep doing that, but I've been trying. But I know, I think, like, I just recently went on a group run with Adidas runners when we were down in Atlanta. You
Mhm.
were down in Atlanta for
Yeah.
Peachtree. Um, where it just was an out and back, and then we stopped at the out, waited for everyone, hung out for a minute after everyone got together, and then kind of ran back. And I mean, I kind of like that too. That always kind of, out and backs aren't as fun, but it logistically it makes it easier to make sure
Yes.
everyone kind of sticks together. So, is that the kind of things that you're doing, or what are you doing to make sure that
Yeah,
all
out
pace
and
groups are
backs is
represented?
is definitely something that we do.
Mhm.
The other thing is that we kind of one of the things we also try to do is think about all right, breaking up people in pace groups and letting the slower pace go first, and then like just kind of do like a reverse race wave. So letting the solo individuals go first, and then the next fastest, and so on and so forth. So that way, like as the faster people kind of pass us up, we all kind of trying to finish around the same time. But also, that's another opportunity to give encouragement as people are passing you. But it's one thing to like start in the back, it already be fewer individuals, and then like the group already disperses out. So now you have nobody encouraging you. You just in the back by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I just don't want anyone to feel like, it's intimidating for me. It's intimidating to go to a group where I don't know anybody,
Yeah.
and like to think that I might get left behind. Like, I mean, that's happened to me before in a run group, and it's just like I don't like this, and I've never gone back. So I've had that experience before because I got lost. I get lost really easily. But like, like I just don't want other people to feel that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here's a question that I've been kind of saving because I feel like this is another direction we can go. Because I could talk about the book all day. I mean, this could be like a book club. I mean, I'd love to talk about it, but I feel like, you know what? Everyone should just buy the book, and then maybe we could have you come back and do a book
Okay.
club or something like that later. But let's switch gears a little bit. And Match has got a good question here to get us started. That first day when you went from the doctor's office to the Fleet Feet, what were the shoes though?
Nike
You remember?
Vomero.
Oh yeah. Okay. All
Um,
right.
I can't remember what number, but it was like way before they destroyed the Vomero and tried to make it faster with the heel toe drop and things of that sort.
Yeah. 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 All right. So, oh, that's awesome. And what about now? What are you running in these days?
So this is a very interesting question. So I was assigned to Adidas for about a good 2 years,
Mhm,
and now I'm more or less a free agent now. So I'm trying out
mhm.
all types of things now.
Okay.
So I got a bunch of Brooks, I got a bunch of Hokas, I'm eyeing the Saucony. So I'm trying a bunch of new stuff right now. The shoe that I keep going back to right now is the it's like the Brooks. Do I have them here? I think they're upstairs. It's like I can't even think of the name of it. It's like one of the faster Brooks.
Okay. The
Hyperion
Hyperion.
Maxis.
Okay. That's a good. I like that one a lot. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
I like the Hyperion Max. What
Okay.
I don't like about it is that when I'm not running, I just always feel like I'm gonna fall backwards.
Yeah. 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 It's not a great walking shoe. I
No.
don't think but it's a great to run in. I like that
Yeah.
one a lot. Yeah. All right. Real cool. So I mentioned that you were in Atlanta, and we were talking a little bit before we started how like we didn't end up seeing each other in Atlanta. What happened?
I don't know, man. Like when I got back and I started looking at all the socials, and I'm like,
Yeah.
where were all these people when
Yeah.
I had my talk at the expo?
Yeah.
Um,
What day was your talk?
the day with the talk was the 3rd. So
Okay.
I had the last hour before the expo closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, see, Drew and I went the day before that,
Mhm.
I think. So that's why we missed you there. And
And
so,
then and
oh,
another
that's
thing,
too bad.
I was also tired. So like I more or less stayed in the hotel because
Mhm.
I had a speaking engagement on the 1st in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So I had
Yeah.
flew from where was I? Arizona to Savannah, Georgia, drove an hour to Hilton Head, did the talk, got back in the hotel, flew from Savannah to Atlanta. My birthday was actually on the 3rd.
Oh,
So
happy birthday.
thank you. So I was just more or less tired. So I didn't necessarily explore the expo like I wanted to, or like get out in social media. But then I looked up, I'm like, dang, like Floozy's here, Tina Muir's here. There was like so many other people that was in the running community that I'm like, like I didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna be down there either. Otherwise, I would have hit you up for sure, and made you come out and hang out. So we'll have to do that some other time. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know who else was going to be down there in Atlanta. It seemed like everyone that I knew was thinking about it and then decided not to go at the last minute. So I was like, all right, I guess it's just me and Drew. So I was happy to see Tina when we just happened to bump into her at the expo.
Mm.
How did your talk go while you were there?
The talk was fun. I think it's very interesting to like give talks at a race expo where there's
It's
like
hard.
literally like people walking around. So you have like this set of cheers, and like
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
got those people who are like enthralled in you. But meanwhile, I can only just think about the people who are like walking by and being
Yeah.
like, so you're not going to stop? You're not going to hear me talk? You're just
Exactly.
going to walk by?
And it's like, are you sitting because you're tired, or are you sitting because you're
Interesting.
interested?
Yeah.
It's such a hard audience to
Yeah.
we were talking to Tina about it too. I'm like, that's like probably like the roughest crowd to
Yeah.
kind of try to talk to. That's why I wanted to know your experience too. Well, let me switch gears a little bit again too, because like what I mean, I mentioned like I was hoping the book would be a little bit more of the like the becoming Martinez story,
Mhm.
because I'm like, I understand and I can kind of like envision, the origin story, the day at the doctor, picking up the Vomeros, and then, struggling through that first 5K. Right. And I see you now. And like, I think I understand how this industry works, and I can understand how you exist now. But I'm like, I want to know all the steps like in between, because
Mhm.
you got the Slow AF Run Club. I guess we'll start there. Like, at what point do you go from like, I don't like this run group. I don't like this run group. I don't like this run group. But you know what? I've been doing this long enough, and I found a couple of other people just like me. We're gonna start our own run club. Like, when did that happen? How did you start doing all that stuff?
So, people have been asking me for the longest, like, "Hey, man, do you have a Facebook group? Like, I want to be a part of this. I really
Mhm,
love the message." And most of the time, I was like, "No," because there were so many. There's still so many like running Facebook groups out there
mhm.
that I just felt as if I didn't want to be another one in a sea of abyss of another like running Facebook group out there. So I reluctantly started Slow Run Club.
Okay.
So how did I get there? Just like anything else, I was running New York City marathon and somebody heckled me. Somebody called me.
Oh,
I don't know if we can cuss on this thing, but I'll just
you
say
can go
slow.
ahead. I'll mark it. I'll
So,
mark it so people
somebody called me slow AF
Okay.
and told me to go home.
Mhm.
And in true New York fashion, I got in an argument with this guy. So, like, imagine you coming off of the Queensboro Bridge and you're running on First Ave. It's already already got off of one hill, and now you're going up another steep hill of First Ave, and you got somebody with a beard calling you slow and fat man, and like you should go home because you don't deserve to be out on this course. So, in true Martinez Evans fashion, I get in an argument with this guy. And then after I finished the race, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wear slow AF across my chest. Like this is gonna be like the Superman's S, just as a packed up. Like I want people like I'm proud of like the pace that I'm going. And like nobody's gonna shame me out of that. I've ran races where they taken down signs, I've gotten lost, I've they've ran out of water or flipped water tables. Like in spite of all of those things that I incurred, like I still made to the finish line. And I think that's something that should be celebrated versus being taunted and ridiculed. So I was like, I'm just gonna wear slow AF across my chest. I'm gonna get to the joke before they do. And people found that joint hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I
people
mean, I love it. I love it, and I think it definitely works. Tell me, when did, like, the turtle come in?
so there was always a turtle when I
Okay.
started Slow AF Run Club. It
Mhm.
wasn't this particular turtle,
Okay.
but as it grown. So let's talk about this. I sold 500 shirts on the first weekend that I made this like these shirts available.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Nice.
and when people was like, "Hey, like, is there a community? Like, we want a community. Martinez make a community." I'm like, "Okay, well, I need to make a community." And then I created this community and started with 40 individuals. Um, and we were planning like trying to figure out what races we're gonna run with and things of that sort. And then pandemic happened. So pandemic happened, Mike, and people are sad, they're depressed, they don't know what they're gonna do. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna put on a virtual race. So I put on a virtual race. I put a little mascot in like an N95 mask, and we called it the social distance shuffle. 5,000 people signed up for that race.
Ooh, that's a lot of people.
Man, do you know how many I had my wife, I had my friends stuffing medals. Like you wouldn't believe how hard it is to stuff medals and during the pandemic, but we was doing it. And people just kind of stuck around afterward, like, oh, like you have this community, like let's just stay. And next thing you know, like I've grown this thing to about 16,000 members worldwide now. And it kind of has evolved. And I kind of see myself as more or less like a servant leader. So more or less I go in there and try to figure out like what are the issues, what are the things that we can solve. So for example, you know how I talked about Couch to 5K, and start off with a 10-minute beginner's run, and it's like, nope, we're gonna change this. So all of my pacing and all of my training plans assume that somebody's running like a 17-minute mile. Like I just did the math, like because
Mhm.
when it was all said and done, it's just all math. So I just made sure that all of my training plans takes the assumption that somebody's running like a 17-minute mile, which means that if somebody's running faster, cool, great, right? Um, when individuals ask for merch and like complained about sizes, I went ahead and took the notion of, all right, well, let's try to figure out this whole merch stuff and go from like a size small to a 6X. So now it's just more or less like serving this community of like 16,000 members. And now that whole notion of, oh, like this is just a community, we're now like branching and growing that to like taking on this larger mission of we want to inspire 1 million people to start running in the body that they have now. So like
Nice.
that's more or less like where we came from to like where we at now with the Slow Your Front Club.
All right, super cool. I mean, because that was my next question. Because I'm like, I'm reading this book, and you're talking about merch, and you're talking about the turtle and why he's a friendly turtle, but also like you're talking about like then there's these virtual races, and I'm like, okay, wait, we skipped a couple of steps. How do we get from like 40 people in the Facebook group to like a virtual race? So this is starting to make a little bit
Yeah.
more sense. And you're continuing to do those events now?
Yeah, we still do virtual races.
Okay, cool. That's all. That's so awesome. Cause I'm just like, all right, this man has built a running empire quietly out of his apartment, and I'm just like, I need some tips. I'm here in the basement. I need some help, especially with maybe the merch. So maybe we'll have a little talk afterwards.
Absolutely.
Because I've been struggling with the merch, man. I can't ever get it figured out. So it's amazing to see that you've been able to tackle all these things. What are some of like the growing pains that you're experiencing, kind of like being where you are right now? I guess you're in the thick of it. You're like literally halfway through your book tour, but
Yeah.
like, if you can zoom out just for a second, like, what are some of your growing pains?
Oh man, some of the growing pains is just not knowing. I
Mm,
think that's the greatest gift and the greatest obstacle at the same time, because
mhm,
you don't know, like
mhm.
you don't know that you're not supposed to do a virtual race and like medals cost $3 to $5 a pop, and you don't know you're just pricing it just because like you're not thinking about the financials of this, like, oh yeah, like yeah, we could do a $15 virtual race, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be good. And then like you do all the math like between shipping and everything, and it's like, wait a minute, like
yeah,
I'm actually paying additional $3 per person. Like,
yeah.
what is going on here? So I would say like that is the first thing, right? Is that you don't know what you don't know. But I think the beauty of that is that you kind of go in head first and be like, well, like I can do this, like anybody can do this, right? I would say that's the thing. Merch is, and we can talk about this off camera because I don't want to bore people with this, but like merch is a gift and a curse. uh, Especially when like you have thousands of pieces of uh stuff to like fulfill, and then like you take it to the post office and the post office waits 2 weeks to actually process everything.
Mhm,
And like now, like everybody's not mad at like the system, like everybody's mad at you, Martinus. And I think like that is the biggest headache that I go through is, of course, like when Nike, like when something happens to Nike, like nobody's like, oh, Phil Knight, you suck, I'm gonna get you, yada yada yada. But like let a t-shirt go missing, or like let the post office like not deliver something. It's
mhm.
Martinez Evans, you are the worst person ever, you suck, yada yada yada. And I'm like, I'm just doing the best I can as a
Yeah.
guy in the basement, like trying to build this empire. So I think, really trying to understand like there will be, you need help to make this work. And I think one of the things that I tried to do that I didn't necessarily do early on is to over communicate everything to
Mhm.
everybody in the members so that they know that like this is the process. Like I don't necessarily enjoy this process. I don't want to take your money and like disappear. And like that's not my goal. Like my goal is to make sure like everybody is fulfilled and happy. And like as an individual who like just did this out of like compassion and like now it's this full-time job, but don't necessarily have all the education in place. Like I'm still all learning this stuff on the fly as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Angel Johnson 234 says, I love this. My mom is running her first 5K with me next year, and she needs this program. As a Black woman, she will listen to someone that looks like her buying the book today. All
That's
right.
what I'm talking about.
We're making some sales and helping some people out. So I love to see that. Matcha says, every time I come to the stream, I end up spending money. Usually it's on running a tire, but I'm happy that Kafuzi led me to spend money on a good cause today. What has some of the feedback been from the book in terms of people that you're meeting at all of your events on this book tour?
The main thing I get is that this book is needed, and wow, Martinus, this is the book I wish I had when I first started running. Like, and that was the approach that I really wanted, was that like, let's just talk about that, like, because I know you like, how do we get to like inside the head of Martinus Simons? When I started running as a 300+ pound man, I could not hire a run coach. Like no run coach would take me on. Like literally the conversation would be like this. Hey, I'm Martinus. I started running, just did couch to 5K. I weigh 300 pounds. I'm training for a marathon or trying to train for a marathon, looking for a coach to train, like work with me. Coach response is that, you being 300 pounds, I necessarily haven't worked with anybody like that. Like, I don't think that I'm a good fit. Like, I don't want to be responsible if you hurt yourself. You need to lose weight. I think you might need to lose weight first before like I'm able to work with you. So like this happened multiple times. I bought it, and with that being said, I bought all of the running books, and I even went ahead and became like a RCA certified run coach, right? And when you go through these certifications and you read these books, one of the things that I found out was that like none of the stuff necessarily pertained to me. Even as a RCA run coach, they give you the Daniel's formula on running and say like this is the Bible. Like that book. It's dry.
It's like a reference book. You don't read it, you check on it a little from time to time,
Yes, but like being a beginner runner, like B.02, 2 quality runs, pace charts that don't go fast, like that don't go slower than 13-minute mile, like was not useful for me. Like the information that I needed was like, hey, Martinez, don't wear cotton underwear. Like nobody told me that. And I had thighs of taco meat for damn near 2 months because like I was just getting chafed and I'm like, I don't know what else to do. Like nobody told me, hey man, there's this thing called Body Glide, or like these lubes you can put on your thighs so they won't rub together. Or like, hey man, like you need to eat before you go running. Like nobody told me that, Mike. So like I'm literally like trying to run 2 hours, like with nothing in my belly, getting lightheaded, and like calling my wife and being like, hey, like come get me because I feel like I'm gonna faint on this run. So like I learned so much like the hard way that and when I started to train individuals and starting to look at like all the running how-to books out there, like the information still hasn't really changed much. So like that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, and like that's the more or less like the initial comments that I get from these individuals of like, dang, this is the book that I wish I had when I first started running. And then I also get like what you said, like, oh, I thought this was gonna be like more of like a memoir book, right? And I think like I tried my best to like serve 2 types of communities, to like give a little bit of background or a glimpse of like the things that I encountered with these like cautionary tales, but also like serving the people that like really need the information about like how to start running at the same time.
Yeah, but I like the cautionary tale kind of model because, like, for those of you who haven't read it, it's kind of structured as like, here's how you approach this aspect of it. And let me tell you cautionary tale of how I basically Martinez learned it the hard way. And this is why he has this advice that he gives you. But you reveal a lot of your own personality that way. And I like the way that that's set up because I feel like the people that like already know your story, already know you are maybe in the Slow AF Run Club, like they already know that part because they've been getting it. But I feel like you're revealing and you're giving them a little bit more of a piece of yourselves in that cautionary tale part.
Right.
So I definitely feel like it is, addressing those 2 different audiences. But I appreciate that there's also a little kind of like little Easter eggs in there for the people that already knew you and knew the story. And you're kind of rewarding them, like the little references to the carrot cake, that are in there.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
first, I was like, "What is it with the carrot cake?" And I'm like, "Oh, this must be something that like they know in this
Yeah.
community, this group, they know." And I saw on your birthday post, you're like, "If anyone wants to help with the carrot cake fund, here's how you can Venmo me."
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate that, like you're talking to all these different communities, and again, it's that striking the balance of how do you be inclusive to everyone that's going to read this book.
Right,
So I think you did
right.
a great job.
Thank you.
Dwayne Scott says, "I feel this. My first race was a 10K and I wore cotton. The
Oh.
shower afterwards still haunts me 15 years later."
Exactly.
Yeah.
But who knows, man? Like my goal is to write the next book is like my version of Can't Hurt Me, like
Okay.
from Goggins. So like that's what I hope to write next, is that like Martinus Evans version of Can't Hurt Me.
Okay. I mean, I enjoyed this book. I really look forward to that one. I think that would be pretty amazing to see. Because again, I feel like there's a lot of time, and I get it. You gotta keep the book tight. You gotta keep it tied to more of a how-to than it is
Mm.
a how I did, kind of
Yeah, yeah.
book. But I'm like, there's steps in here. I need to know more. Like you went from 5K, now I'm going to tackle a 10K, and then like the next part of the book is, so I'm doing my 4th marathon. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think we skipped a step. I think we skipped some steps here. So, yeah.
I think that, Mike, that was the hardest part, is trying to like keep knowing that, all right, this is gonna be a how-to book, but I need to make sure like everybody
Mhm.
feels like they get something out of this. So like if I kept all the stories of like beginner Martinez phase, then everybody like, oh, like, all right, yeah, definitely don't need this. But when you start talking about marathons and like, oh yeah, I ran 8 of them, and like these are the things that I'm going through, like then those kind of advanced individuals, you can kind of keep those individuals hooked while they're still reading through it.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's grab a couple more comments from the chat before we end out today. Kyle says, Martinez, can we get some stealth slow AF designs? He loves the spirit of the Paisley turtle, but I like a low key look.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
think about
coming.
that?
That's
Is
coming.
it,
It's
yeah, like
coming.
a black on black or like a gray on black, I
We're
mean,
working on, I call it our basic B
okay.
collection.
Okay. I was like turtles, bees. I'm like, what's, oh,
No.
I was like, okay. I'm with you now. All right, good. But I mean, like, do you want to tell everyone why, like, it's a smiley face turtle and all that stuff? I mean, because I feel like that was also something that I didn't really think about a lot. I mean, I've thought
Yeah.
about it a lot in the last few years, but like, especially in the running community, it still kind of surprises me that people have to think about this.
So the merch, the way is why it's bright, is kind of twofold. The first fold is safety for myself, right? So being a big black guy, if you ever met me in person, I'm 6'3", 300 plus pounds, like can be intimidating. I've been stopped many a times by the police running at 4 a.m. because I'm suspicious, even though I have a hydration pack on, a headlight, and so on and so forth. I still get stopped. So one of the things that I wanted to do when creating this merch and like coming with a turtle is that like what is the cutest thing that like can make people, that I can wear, that can make people feel comfortable being around me. Being a larger individual, most brands, especially being a man, like you get black, blue, and maybe gray, and anything past the 3X. So like imagine wearing all black at 4 a.m. trying to like do your miles, and people like, yeah, of course you look suspicious. So I was like, well, what are something that I can do, that I can wear, that can kind of draw people in and like see like, oh, like that's cute. He can't be suspicious in a paisley turtle shirt, because A, the shirt is cute, and then like B, like anytime a police stop me, I can be like officer, like really, like I'm wearing like turtles and paisley, like there's no way to get around the description. There's a big black guy, he's wearing a turtle shirt. So like that was one of the things that I wanted to do for safety wise, so that people can kind of like lower their guard a little bit with me, and they don't necessarily see me as a threat, but see me as a fellow runner.
All right.
So like that was
Um,
the I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was the first part of it, right? And the
Mhm.
second part is that it's like being a bigger guy, like they only have black, blue, or gray. Like you see this personality, like I can't be held down by a black t-shirt. Like
Yeah.
I need some style. I need some je ne
Yeah.
sais quoi. So
Okay.
that's another reason why like it's Paisley's in there.
Yeah, see, I guess I'm the opposite. I'm like, "I'll take black. If you got it in camo, that'd be great too." You know, like, I'll just hide back here, that's fine. That's kind of where I'd like to be, but, I love the explanation. Matt Legrand says, "I'm super glad that you are out there to serve as such a good example for anyone else who might think their body isn't built for running. Huge thank you."
Thank you, man.
And let's see. Let's end with this one because I feel like this would be a great way to end it. Alex Pontanos says, "Where can we find the stops on the book tour? And are you coming to Colorado anytime soon, or did I miss you already?"
Also, you can find stops of the book tour at slowafrunclub.com/events. And I'm actually going to be in Colorado this weekend. I'm going to be at Colorado Springs, um, Cherry Creek, as well as Boulder, various fleet feets in the nation or in that Denver, Colorado area. So I'll be there this weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will be in Colorado. So slowafrunclub.com/events. You can find out uh, which locations of Fleet Feast that I'll be at this weekend.
Okay, and at those events, is it like you're gonna do like a theatrical reading? Is it a run? What's gonna happen when people go?
So it's a mixture of things. So
Okay,
some places have fun runs. We do a 1 mile walk or a 3 miler or a 1 miler. We do like a fun run, and then I usually do a Q&A. I don't do readings of the book. I more or
okay,
less just give them like a motivational talk of like
great.
how I got this book and like where we at, and then a book signing, selling the merch, things of that sort, selfies, all the other stuff that comes along with it.
Okay. All right. Well, hang out for a minute, Martinez. I'm just gonna say goodbye to everyone real quick, and I'll get back to you once we're done here. But that's gonna be it for us, guys. Thanks, Martinez, for joining us on the live stream. I'm glad that we waited to have him for the live stream because then you guys got a chance to talk to him too and get to know him a little bit better. There's not going to be a video tomorrow. The Kinvara Pro video should be up right now as long as it's finished processing. So go and check that out. And then I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Should we play a game tomorrow? Should we do Name That Shoe tomorrow? I feel like we haven't played Name That Shoe in a while. So maybe we'll do that one. Same time as today, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully I see you then. In the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.